introduce our next speaker, Jason Johnson, who is the Executive Director of Friends of Lake Warner and the Mill River.
Hello again, everyone. We're sorry that we couldn't hear Beth Wilson's presentation on Amherst and their stormwater upgrades that they've been doing. That's been really exciting work. But this is sort of a happy accident, and we get to leap back into the historical and current situation that we have with our own lake. So let me figure out how to share my screen. Which one do I want? This one. All right. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Whoops. This is, well, this isn't the one that I wanted, but I'm going to start with it anyway. So I described yesterday sort of the detective work that you need to do when you're sort of putting together a watershed restoration project and sort of knowing where you come from in the history of the ecological system. Lake Warner was dominated by this dam, first put in around 1670, and the deed records go back to 1653, where the Hopkins Academy is talking about needing a grist mill for the town, and the nearest grist mill was across the river in Hatfield. That was the very first one in this part of the valley, on the other river across the Connecticut. But you can imagine settlers and people wanting to get their corn more quickly or have their corn ground more easily. So this is the grist mill on the left. It's a pre-1925 photo because this entire structure burned to the ground in 1925, and that was the last grist mill that was present at this site. The original grist mill, back as early as the early 1700s, had been burned by Native Americans during the Indian Wars that raged up and down the valley. Thinking that, you know, if you lived in Deerfield, you would have to come down to North Hadley to have your mill, to have your corn ground. On the right is the Caleb Dickinson and Son broom, tool, and knife manufactory. So this is sort of a blacksmith shop, also run completely on water power, and you can see the infrastructure there on the right side of the screen. At this time, the dam would have only been about 13 feet high. This is a later shot after the mill is gone. And then you see the broom tool factory on the right and the various apertures that are left over from the mill system here. And the old Warner Bridge there. These are spectacular photos, and we think that this is 38 hurricane coming in. So we see the dam at serious flood stage, right? At 17 feet high. The dam was raised by 4 feet in 1947, but at the time that this was taken, it would still only be 13 feet high. Even then, with the raising of the dam, it's still a quarter of a foot higher than the 100-year flood event from the Connecticut River. So as you see the river backing up, you know, Warner Dam is still providing a run of the river type of dam situation. However, the ice dam that formed backed up the Connecticut River and completely overwhelmed the dam. So this would be several feet over the dam spillway, inundating portions of the broom tool factory. There used to be an active livery too, boat livery, where people would rent boats and go and recreate on Lake Warner. So it has this, again, multi-generational recreational connection with the community and the pond. This is the area more recently. It has not changed very much. This goes all the way back to the early 1900s, where there was a boathouse on the other side when the Scots owned this property, and they owned the large farm to the sort of south and the east of the lake, what's now owned by the Boisvert family. This boathouse is also still standing, and somebody has just purchased it and are thinking about storing boats there again. And there's the same area this time of the current photo. All right, so we went through a bunch of aerial photos yesterday. I think I'll sort of skip through those, showing the vegetation taking over. Let me jump to the other slide. So stop share. Okay, so when the dam was repaired in 1947, and this goes back to sort of what Ken is talking about the disruption to an ecological system.
Is anybody seeing Jason's screen right now?
No,
All I'm seeing is a black
all black.
field that says Jason Johnson has started screen sharing.
I can't see it.
Yeah, me neither, Jason.
Want to try starting over?
Well, I'm trying a new share.
Here we go.
Okay, so when the dam was repaired in 1947, and you've got to understand, if you're going back to the deeds, and then we also got fish and game records, because Lake Warner is essentially a private pond, right? It's being run by the Broom Tool Factory and the corn mill. And then sometimes those mill privileges were split at one point in the deed. And so both of those entities sort of own the usage of the dam. So the responsibility, of course, to repair is always put upon one party, and the state wanted to stock the water body, so they had these private pond agreements with John Howe. So when the repair for the dam comes up, they actually find the original spill log from the 1670 dam. It was a little bit upstream of where the dam currently is, but this is what they anchored and began the dam process with in 1670. This was unearthed in 1947. This was the old Caleb Dickinson Broom and Tool Factory. This is a little further downstream on Ferry Road. Prior to Warner Dam being used for the Dickinson Broom Tool Factory, this is where they were operating. And there was actually a whole nother dam system downstream of the current location of Warner Dam that was used to fund a sawmill at one point centuries ago. This is a shot of the corn mill, essentially, again, pre 25. Oh, God. There we go. And the general store is seen from River Road. The general store, of course, they called this place the center. How North Hadley was known as the center because it was the center of activity. You know, there was really nothing going on north of here on River Road or 47. And south of here, you had to get all the way to Hadley before you could buy any goods or anything. So this was a major operation. The store and the corn mill were centers of activity. And it's funny looking back, you see the horse and buggy in front of the store. And then many years later, after it's lost, you see another photo of the store and old automobiles and things like this as times are changing through the valley. Ice harvesting was also a big activity on the river. These photos were provided by Earl Hahn and Rudy Hahn. The Hahn family co-owned the dam during a portion of the 1950s up until 1960s. The original grist mills from the Mount Warner Dam are in the Millstone building in Deerfield. So if you ever drive by there and see those beautiful millstones, those came from our dam. This is a shot of the lower dam. The bridge that's in the background is Route 47 as it crosses the Mill River. This was the lower dam that powered the sawmill. This is a downstream shot from Route 47 looking down at sort of the vestiges of that dam. The stories of floods too, you don't have a very good record of floods going back into the early 1700s, you know, but you catch them in the diaries and notes from the mill workers or the dam owners. And so they would say, and then this is mostly the Connecticut River flooding, you know, remember it was not dammed at this point either until the mainstream dams came on. So the river had a larger variability to come up and really inundate areas, and it just picked the lower dam up and floated it out. That's what they said, that one day it was there and the next day it was gone. Just sort of an amazing story. This on the left are the abutments from that structure. Current day, that's all that's left. More of that flooding photos. All right, so again, you know, when you're doing your detective work, you're gonna come along maps. And this is an old map, 1895, which shows the lake in its smaller condition of 49 acres. And you can see a few houses and establishments are around the perimeter. You can also see the ferry going off of Ferry Road that crossed over the Connecticut River to Ferry Road on the other side in Hatfield. And lo and behold, we have a picture of it. This is, if you look in the background, sort of right where those red dots are, that is Ferry Road coming down, and that is our Mill River over there in the background with Mount Warner in the very background. 1905. And the same area today, or 2014. So this ferry site was really important. They were getting people across, and also they would ferry hay across occasionally. There were large ferries down in Hockenham, and then there was another one north of us as well. All right, the importance of recreation. So this is Bob Hahn, who was a son of Rudy, and who was involved with the ownership of the dam. So Bob really grew up around Lake Warner and used to fish with Bab, the guy on the left, as well as deal with some of the boat livery, and they were just really well-known characters around the pond. And they made the paper in the 40s, catching what was really a record-sized bass. Somebody caught a 9-pound bass 2 years ago, but this 7-pounder was pretty impressive. Another important connection was the school, which is right next to the church on River Road, and the community hall. This area was the housed a portion of the library of what is now in the Goodwin Library and split between the Historical Society's collections. So this was really an important historic area in North Hadley and Hadley. And the Scots, when they owned it, also had a boat access point directly off of the Congregational Church, which is what this arch structure is. And this is the acre of land that was later donated to the town for the ball field area. Services on the pond, I think we saw that yesterday. This is an old picture that really illustrates, again, sort of large scale land use. You know, you really don't see, looking back at Lake Warner, you don't see any trees on the mountain. I mean, just everything had been sort of either grazed over or cut down. (1909) postcard showing North Hadley in the pond. They used to make these old color photographs too, all around New England, and our area in particular. You'll find these either hand colored or old photographs that they made into postcards. And last but not least, the fire department used to use, so fire was a big issue, right? If you had an undeveloped section of town where you didn't even have water, coming up and the pressure that you could need to fight fires, you would occasionally have to draw from the lake, or there were water pits that were dug around town to fight fires. So the fire department used to use the pond and a pump to test their firefighting equipment. And that was one of the things when the pond going away and the care of the dam was discussed many times over the years. And in the early 1930s or so, people were sort of crying that it was such a valuable resource, and firefighting was one of those resources that was important. And these are the construction pictures from 1947. All right, so how much more time do I have?
About a minute.
Oh, good. So there's so much to say about Lake Warner. It really just has been an enormous project, from dam repairs to water chestnut fighting to bacteria analysis to coordination of finding who's responsible and what they're doing or what they have done or what they hope to do. We just keep on trying to make those connections, and sometimes have to remind people of what their jobs are. But really encourage people who are trying to get projects going of their own in their own watersheds, or want to participate in this one, that we're really open to working with people, to teaching and learning, and open to other ideas, because that really is where we get our strength from. So I appreciate so much everybody participating in this, and I encourage everybody to reach out to somebody they know in the field, or 10 people that they know in the field, and continue to get the network growing. And like mycelium, pretty soon we'll be everywhere. Okay, thanks very much.
Well, thank you, Jason. And thank you, everybody who participated, who shared in this. Please tell your friends and colleagues to sign up for the innovation contest. They can register through Eventbrite. We're going to have from 1:30 to 2:15 our second innovation pitch session. So that's happening today. And I believe we have another innovation pitch session happening tomorrow. Please check the event website's schedule tab, or look on Slack under #schedule, and for more announcement and updates. And thank you, everybody. I was really inspired, and I hope you all were.